Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Star Trek Deep Space Nine review show. My name is Fletcher. About to say hi is Data.
Nuknech. That's Klingon for hello. Literally, it means what do you want? Because apparently they don't just say hello. But
yes. Very good. That's our cultural lesson for the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Today we're going to recap, discuss, and rate Season 1, Episode 12, Vortex. Alternate title, On the Rodin with Croden.
Yeah, okay. That's
You got better?
I hadn't thought about this one actually, so I keep getting caught up on the fact that the name of the episode has little to do with the actual episode, so it's like...
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a vortex.
There is a vortex, yeah, like, towards the end of the episode, there's a vortex, and it does play a role, but...
And I keep wanting to call it the Vortex, but it's just
Vortex, yeah.
Anyway, full spoilers for this episode. Possible minor spoilers for later in the series, since we both have seen the whole series. Probable spoilers for random other TV shows and movies.
Yeah, that is what happens.
This episode originally aired April 18th, 1993, after a 4-week hiatus since The Nagus. And after TNG episodes Starship Mine and Lessons. Starship Mine, I think, is the Die Hard episode.
Yep.
And Lessons is one I didn't even remember.
No, I don't remember that offhand. What's that?
It's the one where Picard gets a girlfriend.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. It's funny because when I Googled Lessons just now, the first picture is Picard playing his Resican flute. And I was like, but that's not where he gets that. But yeah,
right.
Okay. Right.
Which, I mean, I've not seen that episode in a long time, if I've ever seen it. This is also the day before the tragic end of the famous Waco siege.
Oh.
Yep. Anyway, so let's recap this episode. We open with Odo paying one of his visits to Quark's. Odo mentions the recent docking of a Miradoran raider, and implies that he suspects Quark is up to some of his usual Quarkish shenanigans.
Which apparently is a good bet, because he always is.
Yeah, I mean, just obviously. Quark, however, denies he even knows the Miradorans, even after a pair of Miradoran Twins enters the bar and nods his way.
Yeah, like, nods explicitly at him while Odo watches, and he's like, yeah, I don't know those
I'm
guys.
just the bartender. You everybody nods at the bartender. Also noted is the presence of a new visitor from the Gamma Quadrant, one Croden, rescued from a damaged shuttle in the Gamma Quadrant, and with whom it seems Quark has been getting chummy. All this has Odo's Odo sense tingling. Quark has Rom prepare a bottle of booze for the Miradoran visitors, and Rom does not notice when an extra glass appears on his tray.
Yeah, that's.
And to be fair, neither did I.
Yeah, I definitely didn't notice it the first time, but then after, going back, I'm like, oh, it's so obvious in that moment that it's like, It pans away from 4 glasses and comes back and closes in on 5 glasses.
And neither does anyone else in the crowded bar from which Odo just vanishes.
Right?
So clearly Odo just transformed into this glass around all these people.
Well, I mean,
nobody was like, hey, wait, what?
Quark calls Rom out after the fact. Like, how are you so stupid as to bring 5 glasses for 4 people? And I'm like, well, you didn't notice there were 5 glasses when he walked in, so...
I mean, but Rom really should have noticed, because he put 4 glasses there.
Yeah.
And then he came back and there was a 5th glass. And it's like, we gotta be on Odo alert all the time.
Rom's also supposed to be just really dumb, so...
It's like, when we're having our secret criminal meetings, we got to be on, Odo alert 10. Because otherwise, stuff like what eventually happens will happen.
Yep.
So in some back room, Quark examines an ugly-looking plastic egg thing.
I think it's one of the holosuites.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Just turned off.
Yeah.
Or in a program that looks like the inside of a holosuite. Come on, turn on the holosuite and, have your secret meeting in an exotic location or something.
Right? It's like he turned on the holosuite to create a table so they could put stuff on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that table was actually holographic.
Yeah.
So yes, this ugly-looking plastic egg thing is apparently being sold by the Miradoran Twins in a deal brokered by Quark.
The twins are apparently played by the same guy.
Oh, okay.
I found out looking at the wiki.
I was wondering if they were played by real twins or just actors covered up with enough makeup to make them look alike. Which, that seems almost like too much effort to have them played by one guy. But
exactly, just get some twins or just two guys because they're gonna have so much makeup you can barely tell. But yeah, no, the guy Randy Oglesby portrays both of them as well as other characters from some other episodes.
In true Star Trek fashion.
Right.
Quark says that the buyer is uncomfortable about the fact that an identical ugly plastic egg was recently stolen in a raid. And wouldn't you know it, these Miradorans are flying around in a raider.
Yeah, well, Odo's like, that Miradoran raider, and he's like, what, you mean the Miradoran ship? And Odo's like, raider. And then he's like, oh, this was stolen in a raid.
I guess raids are just really key to, Miradoran identity or something.
Maybe. See, this is another one of those situations where I remember the card better than the episode, because the Miradoran Raider was a decent card in that card game.
Yep. There's lots of cards in this episode. This accusation upsets the Miradorans, who threaten Quark. But quickly the situation changes when Croden busts in and holds everybody at phaser point and tries to steal the ugly egg.
I don't know if it's bust in so much as walks in and seems really unconcerned about everything, and it's
he kind of stumbles in, actually.
He looks like he might almost be kind of drunk, but he's just so nonchalant about the whole thing where he's his head's back and his holding his gun out. He's just I just give me what I want.
He's not really committed to this performance. No, basically.
It really does feel like there's a performance happening here.
Yeah, it's just Quark has told him to bust in, spoilers, and rob the egg, and he's like, okay, whatever.
I don't know if that's ever made explicit in the episode. It's suspected by lots of people, but...
No, it's confirmed when the Miradoran basically is gonna fly off.
Oh, yeah, because Rom's like, oh, then he'll tell him what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, if they catch him alive, he'll tell them what we did. The Miradorans distract Croden by upending the table with the glasses.
Eat table!
One of the glasses smashes into a bunch of pieces, which quickly gooify and coalesce into Odo, demonstrating that Odo can become something clear and shatter into a bunch of pieces and form back together.
Yep.
One of the Miradorans shoots at Croden from a range of approximately 2 inches and misses, giving Croden the chance to return fire, which kills the Miradoran. Odo quickly subdues Croden and arrests everybody. Quark scolds Rom for his poor glass counting skills.
Yep.
Back at security, the surviving Miradoran goes on about how twin Miradorans are one being split into 2 bodies or something like that, and demands revenge against Croden. So it's not just the regular revenge of your brother being killed.
You skip the fun part where it's during the fight, the Miradoran's you killed my brother, and he gets up and runs at the guy, and Odo just sort of hits him with his forearm a little bit in the chest, and the guy passes out or something. It's the most ridiculous fight.
Odo's got some kind of just chest arm kung fu that knocks you out. So yeah, the surviving Miradoran demands revenge against Croden. Cisco says Croden will go on trial, because, this is the civilized world.
Yep.
Quark and Rom go free, because Quark did technically express concern about the stolen egg, even though it's obvious that he arranged the entire stick-up. Cisco and Odo talk to Croden in the holding cell. Croden drops the bombshell that he knows other shapeshifters like Odo in the Gamma Quadrant, which clearly gets under Odo's skin. Or Odo's goo. Cisco, Kira, and Dax discuss what to do with Croden. They decide that the proper thing to do would be to go to his home planet, Rakar, and inform them that one of their citizens is on trial for murder. Cisco worries that this will be a bad first contact, but Kira guesses the Ricarians will be happy, as Croden is probably a criminal on his home world.
Yeah, we're kind of in the middle there, because he is a criminal on his home world, but they're still not happy. This seems like the classic group of people that they're just never happy. That guy was going to be angry no matter what was said, because he's being forced to talk to somebody not from his planet.
Yeah, this planet doesn't sound like the first we hear about it. Croden just says like all crimes are severe and there's no trials.
Yeah.
So it sounds like kind of an unpleasant place to live, frankly.
But I do love I gotta mention in the interrogating him in the jail scene, he's been in the cell for presumably like 10 minutes, and when they walk in, he's like, "Do you guys not feed your prisoners? Come on."
Yep.
And then it's like, you should be more concerned about the fact that you just murdered a guy than food. And he's like, well, if he'd murdered me, then I wouldn't be hungry. So where's my food?
Yep.
It's just great.
Yep. Croden's he's got a few clever turns of phrase. He's like, I don't lie. I
dissemble sometimes.
Dissemble.
And he mentions several times. It's like, no, not lying. I dissemble. Sometimes I don't dissemble, but...
Yep. Odo talks to Croden, who says that there were shapeshifters on his home planet long ago, but they were driven out. But there are still shapeshifters to be found in the Gamma Quadrant.
In this scene, he is eating some, like, lunch or something, so I guess he finally got fed.
Oh, yeah, sure. Odo's he's not cruel. He feeds his prisoners. Odo is skeptical, but as proof, Croden shows him a pendant with a stone on it that shapeshifts in a manner similar to Odo, and in a special effect that they get double value out of by playing it forwards and backwards.
Yep. And it's just how many people wear, like, big necklaces on the show? The answer is like not many people, and this one is
you see the necklace, something's up.
The chain is like so long, it's ridiculous. It like hangs down past his navel, and I'm just like, okay, clearly they want you to pay attention. This is going to be an important thing.
Yep. Let's see. Kira and Dax, as mentioned, fly to her car and send out a general radio message to the whole planet.
Dax and Cisco. Sorry, you said Kira and Dax.
Oh yeah. Cisco and Dax fly to her car and send out a general radio message to the whole planet.
Yeah, I was just like, so just anybody, hey, we're up
hey,
here.
Is there anybody on that planet who's interested in the fact that, like, one of your guys came and committed murder on our space station?
There was exactly one guy interested, but only after they mentioned the name of the fellow, so.
Yep. A guy claiming to be the Exarch of Nhelik Province. And he says that they want Croden back for crimes committed on Ricard.
Some sort of unspecified crimes that he's already been found guilty of.
Yeah, what do you say? He's like been declared guilty in absentia or whatever.
I think it said that he actually says he was like tried and found guilty in absentia. Which, because it stuck out to me because I was like, well, I thought there were no trials. He
assures them the punishment Croden receives will more than cover any crimes committed on Deep Space Nine. But he doesn't elaborate beyond that. He also mentions they know all about the wormhole and just are not interested in meeting any new species.
Don't care at all. Okay, I'm wrong. The guy goes, like, Cisco says that Croden's going to be tried, and the guy goes, tried? He's already been declared guilty in absentia.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, that's right. Yes, like, what's even the point of the trial? We said he was guilty.
Yeah. We declared it. That's
I mean, what more do you need? Anyway, Cisco agrees to bring Croden back to her car, an assignment which he eventually passes to Odo.
He gets like a dirty look from Dax when he's like, yeah, okay, we'll bring him back, and Dax is like, what, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's what you gonna do. Like, it is a little weird, like, because in modern times, or in current times, there's a lot of countries that won't extradite if they know that the criminal will get the death penalty.
Yeah.
And you think that'd be one of those, like, Federation policies.
There was one case that I was reading about where, like, the UK refused to extradite to the US because they thought the guy's crimes would end him up in, like, Supermax. And they were like, well, no, that's the like 23-hour a day isolation in Supermax is like inhumane, so we won't send him if you're going to put him there. And so it eventually, the U.S. government had to agree that he would not go to Supermax.
Yeah. But I guess he's technically a Bajoran prisoner, and I guess the Bajorans really don't care.
Yeah, we don't really still know much about Bajoran laws and stuff, so...
And plus, it's just like, this guy's a murderer, so whatever, good riddance. Dr. Bashir analyzes the shape-shifting pendant and likens it to a cousin of Odo. Odo asks Croden where he got it, and he says there is a Vortex nebula thing in the Gamma Quadrant, and he found it on an asteroid in there. One which only Croden can find. But he offers to take Odo there.
Yeah, of course, only Croden can find it.
Yeah. To which Odo is clearly skeptical.
Well, because he's not even that good at like at these lies that he's telling. It's like super transparent that he's trying to scam him in some way. Yeah, he's dissembling.
Yeah, I mean, when a guy tells you, it's like, oh, I found it in a mysterious location, but I can't tell you where it is. I have to take you there. Yeah, that's something's up.
And he keeps using like the most transparent attempts to like get Odo like on his side. He's like, but we're the only two of our species here. I thought that we could be friends or whatever, like that you would care about me for that reason, or we're the only two from the other side of the wormhole.
All shapeshifters are hated by aliens, and I sympathize with you. Odo ultimately decides not to trust Croden, who asks for the pendant back. Which, kind of takes Odo by surprise. That's kind of like, he's like, oh yeah, I guess if I, like, call your bluff, I have to also, like, fully call your bluff and give you your thing back.
Right.
On a runabout on the way back to her car, Croden tells the story of why he's in trouble. He claims that he was arbitrarily declared an enemy of the state, and that security officers came to his house and killed his wives. That's right, he's a polygamist. And that he killed them in revenge or self-defense or something.
Which is, I think, the one really good performance I feel like from him. Like, that was a good monologue where he talks about them coming and then how he like kills them with the knife that he used to kill fowls on the farm or whatever.
Turns out killing a person is a lot like killing a chicken.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty good. Anyway, Odo is skeptical. Back on the station, the surviving Miradoran bullies Quark into hacking into the station computer and finding out where Croden went. Sisko and crew attempt to delay the Miradoran ship with red tape, but the ship just flies away through the wormhole to hunt down Odo and Croden.
Quark is just such a problem in this episode, and not like just for the purposes of this episode, but just in general for the station. This episode highlights what a problem Quark is. Not only does he like engineer this plan that ends in murder and gets in no trouble whatsoever for this murder, but it's like a guy slaps him around a little bit and he will instantly like hack into the highest security stuff on the station and give the guy whatever information he wants.
I think this plant, he bit off a little bit more than he can chew with this crazy caper.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of a line from The Wire when Omar goes to Prop Joe. He says to Prop Joe, it's like, I forget what he says. It's like, you've spent so much time being devious, you got yourself caught in a web. Under attack, Odo lets Croden take the controls of the runabout as they happen to be right next to that Vortex thing that he's such an expert on. Croden flies them to a secret asteroid to hide. At first, Croden claims that there is a changeling colony right around the corner, but after being confronted by Odo, he admits that he's never seen a changeling, only heard stories. And the shape-shifting stone on his pendant is one of many traded by merchants on his planet.
Yeah, they come from somewhere else, he doesn't know where.
Yep.
But it's just, they're used as keys, which is like, wow, okay, so you buy the weird pendants, do they just only turn into the one shape and you have to have somebody make a lock to go with the, or maybe the merchants make the locks? I don't know.
Well, he says it just, it shape shifts into the shape of the lock. Although it shapeshifted into the shape of the key before he put it
Right.
into the lock. So, not clear. Very unclear.
I found the Wire quote.
What is it?
Omar says, "Now, Joe, you have been so busy being devious, you done messed around and got yourself caught up in a web." So
Nice.
you had the gist of it.
Nice. So yeah, that's Quark this episode.
Yep.
He done messed around and got himself caught in a web.
I feel like that's Quark most of the time when he has a weird scheme.
That's true. It always goes a little bit sideways.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anyway, so the stone he uses as a key to open a hidden stasis chamber in a cave. A chamber he reveals contains his daughter. Suddenly, the asteroid comes under attack by the Miradorans, and a rock falls on Odo, knocking him unconscious. Apparently, he stays in solid form when this happens, and he's very heavy.
It's just like I'm like Odo gets knocked unconscious by a rock. It almost feels like I want to be like, oh, he's faking it to see if this guy's on the level and gonna like, but according to like the wiki and stuff, it was just like they hadn't figured out stuff about Odo's character in this season. Sure. And in later seasons, it's specified that something like this would not, like this kind of injury would not happen to him.
I mean, you could make up some reason why this knocked him out, and he didn't turn back into goo form, but yeah, it's a little weird. Of course it happens, so that what happens next, which is that Croden hesitates for a moment, but ultimately does the right thing and rescues Odo.
Well, he does the right thing because his daughter's like, wait, what are you doing, Dad? Are you not going to help this guy? And he's like, no, yeah, of course I'm going to help this guy.
Yeah.
Got to be good. Honestly, if I'm in Croden's situation, I probably don't help Odo.
Yeah, I mean,
like, leave this guy here.
It's at least a decision you got to make. But also, like, Odo did kind of save his life by refusing to turn him over to the Miradorans, so...
It's true.
He kind of owes him one. They fly off in the runabout, and Odo devises a plan to lure the Miradorans into a volatile gas pocket and trick them into firing. This plan works, destroying the Miradoran ship.
Yeah, it's got one of the, like, the gas thing causes one of the most, to me, awkward lines in the show, where the guy's like, oh yeah, this nebula is full of pockets of volatile gas that we call Tomer.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, so is that's not the name? That's what you call it? Or because, you're using like presumably this is all, being universal translated or whatever. So I just don't feel like I've ever heard someone being like, well, we call this thing blah blah, as opposed to just being like, oh yeah, it's filled with Tomer gas. Like, it just sounds super awkward to me in context.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Like, is it like, there's gas pockets all over the place, but these ones are kind of well known or something like that. Yeah, that's an interesting point. So after they get away, Croden asks Odo to look after his daughter after he's brought back to his home planet to presumably be executed or tortured to death or whatever.
And Odo's like, wait a second. You're not asking what I think you're asking, right? Because I'm not taking care of no kid.
Yeah. He's like, I mean, she looks pretty grown up. Like,
just go send her to be friends with Jake.
I mean, although Odo doesn't even have, like, a house or quarters or anything.
No, so. He has a bucket behind his desk.
But I'm sure he could bring her back to Deep Space Nine and get her some quarters, and she's old enough to kind of be independent. It's hard to tell how old alien kids are on this show, though.
That's true, yeah. It's like on the Mandalorian where there's like Baby Yoda and he's 50.
Right. Yeah, I mean in real life, yeah, like aliens, like an alien would be like 50 years old and still be a baby, probably.
Yeah, you never know.
Yep. In the Star Trek universe, aliens have similar life cycles to humans.
Yep.
So, which I guess comes from the fact that we're all descended from the...
Oh yeah, that one race, the progenitors.
Yep, the lady on the planet. Anyway, luckily Odo doesn't have to take care of the daughter because just at that moment, a Vulcan ship shows up. And I like this, sends a message on Vulcan band
the
frequency.
Vulcan band. They have their own band.
It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's the Vulcan band. Only the Vulcans know how to use this radio frequency. Odo decides to let Croden and daughter go with the Vulcans to live on Vulcan, presumably.
Oh, yeah, go to Vulcan at least. Who knows what'll happen from there?
Yeah.
And I do like how when you see the Vulcan, like, lady talking from her Vulcan ship, like, in the background, there's just, like, the Vulcan symbol repeated over and over along the wall. Like, they really want you to know who you're talking to.
These are the Vulcans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than a lot of times in Star Trek when we meet an alien and we go on screen and there's just, like, they're just in a dark room or something because they didn't want to build a bridge set for the alien. So Odo says he will lie and say that Croden died in the fight with the Miradorans. He tells the Vulcans that he rescued Croden and daughter out of the nebula, but now he has an important mission in the Gamma Quadrant. Croden thanks Odo by giving him the shape-shifting pendant, which I guess he doesn't need anymore because he got his daughter out of the thing with it.
Right. Well, and he's like, maybe this will help you find what you're looking for.
Yeah. Odo plots a course for home through the wormhole, making no attempt to keep up the ruse of being on a mission in the Gamma Quadrant.
Or to, like, go and talk to the people on that Ricard planet to be like, oh yeah, so the guy died, bye now.
Yeah.
So they're just going to be pissed off that the Federation doesn't ever keep its word.
Yeah, they're like, it's like, who are those guys that said they had Croden? Did they ever show back up with Croden? No? Whatever.
Cisco said they were going to be here within 58 hours, but maybe their hours are like years or something. Who knows?
Yeah. I just like, because the Vulcan says, like, yeah, we're just about to go through the wormhole right now. And then Odo plots a course through the wormhole, so wouldn't he just be flying, like, right beside them? Like, back through the wormhole?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But whatever. The episode's over, so it's like we're out of time in the episode, so we can't worry about that anymore. He stares at the pendant stone and wonders aloud where home really is, saying, "Someday we'll know, cousin." The end.
The whole cousin thing bothered me because Bashir's like, this is some sort of, like, half rock, half living organism.
Uh-huh.
It's like an intermediate stage between, like, living thing and non-living thing, basically. And so it's kind of like a cousin to you. And I'm like,
yeah,
is Odo, like, halfway between living and non-living? Because I don't feel like that's a thing we know.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't mean it as, like, seriously as I think Odo took it, but
yeah,
Odo's probably from the Gamma Quadrant. This thing's from the Gamma Quadrant. There's legends of shapeshifters in the Gamma Quadrant, apparently. And there's these mysterious stones floating around. So,
well, this is the first time that someone uses the term changeling to talk
exactly.
about Odo, which comes in a lot later. So,
yep. Although I feel like it's not much of a difference in terminology.
No.
But, whatever. The shapeshifter shifts shapes.
That's a tongue twister.
Changeling changes.
Lings.
Yep. Anyway, I like this episode.
This episode, I have mixed feelings about this episode. So it's definitely a better Odo episode than any attempts at Odoing so far.
Yeah, definitely better than A Man Apart.
Yeah, you're going back to, like, A Man Apart, where it was tried to be an Odo episode, but really sucked at it. This one does a really good job, I think, of showing us how important it is to Odo to try to find, like, where he's from, and setting up this conflict between him wanting to pursue this information, but him wanting to his job. And it's kind of a lucky coincidence for him that he gets to do both in the end. But so I feel like that it's really strong in that sense, in that I'm like, okay, we're finally, I feel like, learning some stuff about Odo, and we're expanding on his character in this episode that's clearly dedicated entirely to that. while at the same time, it's like, you got this guy who's clearly a liar.
Right.
So Odo knows that there's only like the tiniest chance that this guy's actually telling the truth. But it's almost enough to make him be like, okay, well, let's screw everything important and pursue this anyway, even though he doesn't. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
What I don't like is I feel this episode is like a really perfect example of how Deep Space Nine drops the ball when a lot of other a series that had a planned out story, this would have been
sure
exactly the kind of episode that I would expect, where it's like, there's a big mystery of the series and they dangle like, oh, maybe we're gonna solve this mystery, here's like a hint, and then at the end of the episode it's like, oh, well, we didn't solve the mystery because of course you're not going to solve the big mystery in season 1.
Right, exactly.
But we got this little piece. And just like how he ends up with the necklace at the end, he's like, maybe this will help you. And then in another series that had a planned out story, this would have been like the first clue on a trail that will eventually, like, Odo will eventually trace back and find the answer that he's been looking for, and all of these steps will have been important. Whereas in Deep Space Nine, they throw this out there and then it never comes back.
Really?
I don't think this thing is ever referenced or seen again.
I could have sworn the key came back later.
I don't think so. I googled and looked on the wiki to make sure that I wasn't crazy to think this, and I'm not finding anything about the key.
Okay. I guess I just misremember, because I thought I swear there's a time when like there's a door, and I forget what even the door goes to, but he uses the key to it. But yeah, I could be just totally misremembering that. Memory Alpha will probably have the answer.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't even have like an entry for the key. It's just like it's mentioned as you're going through there. And so I was like, oh, I feel like if it was important, there would be a page about it, and it would be like, this thing appeared twice.
So, Deep Space Nine, shape-shifting key. Oh, there isn't an entry. It's called Shape-Shifting Locket.
Oh, okay. It just isn't linked from here. So does it appear again?
I don't know. If this half-page ad would go away, I might be able to tell you. No, you're right. It's only referenced in this episode. The scripts describe the stone's function, describing Croden opens it, exposing a stone which promptly morphs into an intricate metallic object. It holds the shape for 5 seconds, then shifts back to its original shape. And then there's a little sketch by the original guy who designed it. Okay, then you're totally right on that point, because it's like, in fact, I guess we never even see Odo, like, looking at the locket or wearing it anymore. It just kind of disappears.
So. Yeah.
I mean, for all we know, like, in the, immediately, like, he takes it to some Gamma Quadrant expert, and they're just like, oh yeah, no, those are, like, made on this planet, and they have nothing to do with
it's just a novelty. It's whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like even if this had been, like, a later season episode of Deep Space Nine, that they would have kept that, and it would have been something important at some point, because they got better about that kind of thing as the show went on. But it's just, like, to me, it's like a disappointment at this point to be like, oh man, we're making nope, yeah, nothing to do with anything. Okay.
You're right. It is pretty tantalizing, and then to know that it never comes back is a real disappointment. Yeah. And even like the lore about the shapeshifters, like, I mean, I guess it's feasible. It could match up with what we know about the shapeshifters, from later, but. It doesn't really connect in a meaningful way or anything that I can think of. But I do like this episode because it's, I don't know, just after the run of episodes we had, I mean, it's a nice, complex episode with a mystery and solution to the mystery that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Croden is a fun guest character.
Yep.
So... I mean, it's like they didn't make any of the mistakes they've been making in the past episodes. They just wrote a nice, solid, watchable episode.
Yeah. I give it that much. Like I said, it's definitely better than previous Odo attempts. That's why I'm kind of just mixed on it, because it could have been a better stepping stone, and it fizzles. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. Also, to go back to some of our recurring themes on the show, this is Morn makes an appearance, and apparently, according to the wiki, this is the first time Morn is referred to by name.
Oh my! I didn't even think about that. I did. Yeah, I like the part where Odo's like, "Oh yeah, Morn told me all about it."
Yeah, and apparently there's also the first reference to what will be a recurring thing about Morn talking too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Odo says that. So,
Morn's
character also gets lots of development this episode.
Yeah, this is it's more of a Morn episode than an Odo episode almost. Okay, yeah, that's some good trivia. I was just glad to see Morn because I'm always on Morn watch.
Yep.
So
that's why I knew I had to bring it up. I'm like, we're always talking when Morn shows up. So
I did feel like this is an episode where they kind of, it's like O'Brien's in the episode, but like he doesn't really do much, and Dax is in the episode and she doesn't really. Like, there's sometimes I feel it's like, why is Dax even here? Does she just, like, need something to do, or...
Right.
But, you know, they were given all the... However, Jake Sisko, I believe, was not in the episode again.
No, yeah, there's another Jake is missing episode. Is Chief O'Brien in this one?
He is in the... Because I noticed... I forget what he does, but he does have a couple of lines, at least.
Okay.
Just general, like... oh no, the Miradorans are getting away, or something like that.
Apparently, this is also the first time we see Odo smile, which I was like, wow, really?
Huh. I mean, I could have sworn he had some kind of smile before, but I don't know. Is the smile when he's like saying like "we'll find out, cousin" or whatever?
I don't know. It doesn't say what it is. There's a quote from the actor who says that he felt the scene was an important one in the development of the character, believing that, quote, a smile is sort of a gift that Odo gives only on very special occasions.
Okay. I believe him.
Yeah, he's the guy who did it, so I'll go for it.
Yeah. I do have one weird note that Sisko pronounces the word homicide weird.
Oh yeah, homicide.
It's like in one of my favorite movies, L.A. Confidential, where Kevin Spacey talks about the murder of this gay guy. He says, like, they think it's just another Hollywood homicide.
Oh my god. Oh, I have not seen that movie, I don't think.
It's, I love it. Nothing Kevin Spacey can do will make me not like that movie. Even though every time you see Kevin Spacey now, you're kind of like...
every time you see Kevin Spacey now, it's kind of like, But I'm trying to think if I have a Kevin Spacey movie that I feel that way about. I have to go look at Kevin Spacey now.
I mean, it's like when you see him in Seven.
See, I don't like Seven, so...
Oh, okay. I like him in Seven. I agree, like, the general premise of Seven is, I think, not for me, but...
Yeah.
I just like his performance.
Sure. Oh, he's Lex Luthor in Superman Returns.
Yeah, I can do without that.
That's a very interesting... see, and I don't like American Beauty. I don't like K-Pax. I don't know. I'm looking at these various movies that he's done.
See, yeah, I think...
The Ref. I like him in The Ref, actually.
I can go the rest of my life without saying American Beauty.
Yeah.
I do not know what is The Ref. Is he a referee?
No, he's it's a Dennis Leary movie where Dennis Leary is a criminal who like has to take this family hostage on Christmas Eve, and Kevin Spacey is the husband.
Okay.
It's a ridiculous like early 90s comedy. It's just really dumb but fun, so I have positive memories of that, but it's really a Dennis Leary movie.
Sure. The way you described it made me think of Swimming with Sharks, which is a Kevin Spacey movie I definitely do not like, even though...
okay, The Negotiator. That's the only one on this list. The Usual Suspects maybe comes close, but it's The Negotiator where I'm like, I'm gonna like that movie, and I'm gonna like him in that movie no matter how.
Although,
good the movie is.
I mean, I don't particularly like Kevin. I feel like Kevin Spacey's performance in The Negotiator is not like the most amazing. Like, you watch that movie for like Sam Jackson and.
Well, it's true. You do watch it for Sam Jackson, but I think I think Kevin Spacey's good in it. I like
Sure. I mean, Kevin Spacey's a good actor, so. But yeah, it's not like one of those roles where it's like, I forgive you, Kevin Spacey, when you watch that role.
No, I don't think there is a role that's gonna do that.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying I forgive Kevin Spacey for anything, but I feel like some of his roles are more meaty.
I don't think there's any of his other movies that I'm like, I'm gonna watch that and forget to be like, ugh, when he comes on screen. Yeah. I do really love some of the interactions in Superman Returns where he's insulted by like the lady, or he's like, what was it my dad always said? You're going bald? No. Before that, it's like, get out. There's just some great moments in there, but it's mostly her.
He was kind of riffing off of the whole, like, from Superman 1.
Yeah.
The Gene Hackman
performance, yeah.
And What's Her Face back and forth also. Which was that the same, supposed to be the same lady in Superman Returns that it was in...
Good question.
I haven't seen Superman Returns in so long.
I haven't seen either of those movies in so long, so...
I just remember he makes an island out of kryptonite and is like, look at this great new real estate I made.
Yeah, and it's like, no one's going to want to live there.
That's horrible real estate. Maybe you can put like a toxic waste dump there or something.
Okay, so the lady in Superman Returns is named Kitty Kowalski.
Okay, yeah, I think that is the...
Let's see if I can find
Kitty is the name of the girl from the original Superman, right?
I don't know. Like, it's been longer since I've seen that one, so I'm going back to like read about that one. Okay, Gene Hackman, Lois Lane. No, Lex Luthor's girlfriend is called Eve Teschmacher in the first one.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff to learn on this Deep Space Nine review.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do the ratings.
All right, you want to do the ratings? You go ahead.
Let's do the. I'm gonna give this one a lieutenant commander. I think it's a solid, good episode, a good Odo episode, especially for season 1. But it's not gonna make it higher than that because I have bad feelings about it.
So you're giving a lieutenant commander, which you also gave emissary and Q-less.
Yeah, it's probably above Q-less, maybe not above emissary.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll put it right between those. It's Vortex. Yeah, that title really is... I feel like they probably like couldn't come up with a title. They're like, what do we call this?
I keep thinking because it's like... I think of the like the opening of the wormhole as a vortex. I don't even know if they call it that. Maybe they don't. Maybe I'm thinking of like on Stargate when they call the opening of the wormhole a vortex. Maybe I'm thinking of that. But I just like...
That's true. You hear vortex, you think the wormhole.
Yeah. And so the fact that it has nothing to do with that at all and isn't really like the word itself isn't really all that relevant to the episode. It's just like, oh yeah, we call this nebula the Shamra vortex. It's like, could you not find something more relevant to make the name of the
think
episode?
Like with a title like that, it would have some kind of thematic connection, but maybe Odo's in an emotional vortex or something. I don't know.
Oh, I was just looking at the episode that dropped today for of the show, and you got some comments on that one even. Yeah.
Allison Fordyce has been going through leaving comments all over our...
Nice.
So you can go and reply to those if you want. So, special shout out to Allison Fordyce. If you're out there, we do see your comments. She won't hear this for like 2 weeks though, so... Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a full commander.
Okay.
It was just such a breath of fresh air. And I like I didn't say it as much, but you kind of said it. I did like the Odo character, where it's like, this is just such a strong thing for him, where, you know, it kind of makes him like, it pulls him away from his normal, like, ideals almost.
Mm.
So I thought all that stuff was really interesting. Like, this passionate desire to know where he came from. And I thought that was portrayed really well.
Yeah.
Plus, like I said, I like Crowden. I like the fact that the entire plot makes sense from beginning to end.
It is nice after some of the episodes we've had to be like, hey, all of this made sense. Except for, obviously, little stuff like Odo getting knocked out. Where
sure.
Come on.
I mean, yeah, like lore type stuff. Kind of, yeah. And like you said, it doesn't pay off later, so that is definitely a negative.
And Quark manages to basically get away with murder, which is also something I just saw on the wiki, where like Armin Shimmerman has an issue with this episode because he's like, I feel like it's a bad. Here, hold on, let me go and get exactly what he says here. But he says he was deeply concerned about how in this episode Quark becomes involved in a murder with no consequences. Yeah. And he's like, I had this chat with Rick Berman about whether we were over the line here by having Quark do this thing.
I guess the murderer the victim was a criminal though, so
yeah. And I mean, on one level, like Crowden is right because the guy shoots at him first and he shoots back, and so he's like, well, it was him or me at that point, which is, yes, that's true, but you showed up to commit an armed robbery and made that a thing, so it's not really an excuse.
If you're mugging someone, you cannot claim self-defense.
I also love that Quark is just giving him a Ferengi phaser to be like, here, go to town.
Quark has just been really sloppy. Like, the Quark and Rom both, like, they need to get their act together.
Yep.
But yeah, and I like that there's a mystery that's actually kind of interesting and, keeps you engaged. Unlike some previous attempts at mystery, which are, I mean, it is kind of obvious, like, Crowden is a liar and a con man, but...
Yeah, so it's almost like, what is the mystery? Because maybe you're like, okay, maybe there's like a 5% chance he's telling the truth.
Right.
But maybe the mystery is really, what is he actually after here? Is it just to escape? But then you get, and like, that was my first thought was, it's like, oh, he's trying to get him to that planet to like...
Right, he's got like a cache of weapons or something there.
Or he's got a ship he can run away on there or whatever. Yeah. But then once they get there, he's like, no, this is really important. I gotta get to it, please. And so it's like, oh, well, okay, hold on. So I don't know that I felt like it was a mystery as much as... I
was just thinking of it in terms of like, what does Crowden know? Because he knows something, clearly.
Yeah. And
his little necklace came from somewhere, so... it's kind of like, how do all these little pieces fit together?
Yeah, and it's definitely, him being like, oh yeah, I don't actually know any changelings. We have the legends, which is what I based all my lies on, but this is just like a thing that people come and sell. So it's more logical and it flows better than, for example, the Dax episode where at the end it was like, oh yeah, so the general actually was betraying and died himself, which just comes out of nowhere. This one you're like,
right.
Oh, this whole thing, even though him being like, yeah, okay, none of that was true. I just made it all up. Basically, that is kind of the same. Like, just like, oh no, everything that you thought you knew was fake. But at the same time, because they've built him up as this character who does lie, so you knew that he was lying about some percentage of what he's saying. And it all hangs together and flows in a way that sort of reveal did not. So
yeah. Plus, it like we mentioned several times, it points to possible future stuff, which does never pay off. But
yeah, I mean, I assume that you can make some sort of connection if you really try hard, where it's like, well, maybe the people selling these are getting them from someone related to the actual changelings in some way, but I don't think that really fits with the changelings that we know later. Like,
I would have to say it's based on what we know about changelings later. Spoilers.
Yeah.
That there are changelings later. That key just can't have anything to do with them.
Yeah. Like, does not seem likely.
Yeah. Anyway, I give it a commander. I'm going to put it... It just feels wrong to put it above the pilot. I'm definitely not going to put it above past prologue.
Okay, so like bottom level commander so far.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to put it right above the Nagus, which like, I liked the Nagus just because it was, I don't know. It was fun, even though it kind of was not really a Deep Space Nine episode. This is a Deep Space Nine episode. So...
Yeah, this is definitely a Deep Space Nine episode. I'll give you that. Yeah. It's very character focused, which is I think a thing that Deep Space Nine becomes kind of famous for.
And I swear there's just like lots of little like I swear the establishing shots and like music cues are just getting more and more familiar. Because like I remember at the very opening, it just opens the with the shot of the station's like dun 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 dun. So I was like, oh yeah, this feels familiar. This feels nice.
Everyone who gets featured is kind of on their game. Where it's like, Odo is doing his Law and Order thing. Sisko is doing his like is almost like kind of doing diplomacy type stuff. Quark has got his scheming going. Everyone is very on brand for their character in this episode.
Rom's
being dumb.
Circling Romness.
Yeah. We're getting closer.
Yeah.
Morn gets a name.
Yeah. Morn. Yeah. So we're getting into Deep Space. We're getting more and more into the Deep Space Nine, which is
into the Deep Space Nine space.
Yeah, this is the space of the Deep Space Nine.
I'm looking at the at the rankings that we've done so far, and I'm wondering like long term how it's gonna like graph out, because I recently somebody convinced me to set up an account on what's that called? Shoot.
I know what you're talking about. The Letterboxd?
Yes, Letterboxd. Thank you. And I was going through and like looking for all the movies that I've seen and rating them as I found them, and I ended up, I'm sure I'm not anywhere near done yet, because at some point it gets kind of hard to either remember or just randomly stumble across movies that you've seen on here. Right. But at some point, or at this point rather, I am at like, how many is it? 936 films.
Wow.
And you've got, and that I've seen and rated, and you've got the little like the graph of the rating, and it's kind of shocking to me that it has ended up very like bell graph looking. Which probably shouldn't be a surprise, because statistically that is what should happen. Although mine is a little bit thinner on the high side than on the low side.
Sure.
But I'm just like, I was kind of shocked when I didn't even realize that chart was there until I was past like 800, and so I saw it and was like, oh wow, it came out surprisingly like normal distribution. Poisson,
it's crazy where those normal distributions will show up.
Yeah, so I'm wondering long term if you like what the distributions for this series are going to look like.
That's a good point. Yeah, we'll have to make a what's that kind of graph called? Like where every bar represents like the number of one type of thing. Histogram?
No, isn't the histogram with the dots? Hold on. No, yeah, you're right. That's what it is.
So maybe once we get a large enough data set, we can put together a histogram and see what it looks like. Okay, any final thoughts?
Well, I'm glad that we got a good Odo episode, if nothing else. I mean, even if it doesn't pan out long term, it's nice to have something to refer to for him that's not like past prologue. Oh, no, I'm sorry, A Man Alone, rather. Sorry, I was reading the words past prologue instead. Right. Yeah. So, it's nice to have something other than A Man Alone. At this point, now we're going to need something for Dax other than Dax, because that was horrible. And, who else? I mean, O'Brien got a bit of an episode with Tosk, although it wasn't, the best there either.
But I mean, we've known O'Brien for a long time, so
that's true. So we've had a good Kira, we've had a good Odo. Emissary maybe is like a Sisko thing, but
Emissary I think was a pretty solid setup for Sisko.
Yeah, it did focus on like Sisko's history and stuff, and it even had like a mini arc for him. So maybe we had a good Sisko episode. So now we definitely need a Dax. Episode, maybe a good Bashir episode.
Yeah, we definitely we could use some Bashir work for sure.
I mean, he wasn't really in this episode enough to be his annoying Bashir self, which is in and of itself a bit of a blessing. But
yeah, and like his role in the episode was to analyze the key thing, which that's a job that either Bashir or Dax could really do.
Right.
So it was like, let's throw him that. And then Dax can go on the mission to the planet for some reason.
I think Bashir is more likely to make the stupid joke about it being Odo's cousin that Odo can then take to heart.
Sure. Yeah, Dax wouldn't say that, I don't think. Okay, well, want to wrap it up?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap up that review. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I'm Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
Farewell.
Okay, good. Have a wonderful day, and drop by anytime you're feeling homesick.